world watching this. It's nice to have you aboard. My name is Omar, and you are watching Live with Omar Moore on this State of the Union night. Obviously, we have seen many of you, or maybe some of you, uh, saw that abomination of a State of the Union address, and you should not be surprised that it contained a lie after a lie after a lie. Donald Trump standing there and really making an absolute fool of himself. We all knew that this was going to be a very dishonest presentation. It was 1 hour and 47 minutes of absolute garbage that we saw, and nothing in that speech at all that he gave resembled any facts whatsoever. I'm not going to be here for a few minutes. I was going to give away some prizes tonight, but I know it's really late. I was going to give away some buttons, Jesse Jackson buttons from 1988, that very famous run that he did in 1988 for paid subscribers only, but it's way, way too late to do that. And I've also got some books, copies of books that I will be giving away. I'll do it this weekend instead. Several books, including Vice President Kamala Harris's book as well, and also Virginia Giuffre's book entitled Nobody's Girl. I'll do that this coming weekend instead because I recognize it's very late on the East Coast, and I really don't want to keep you waiting too long at all. Hello, Len. Nice to see you. Nice to have you here. Nice to have everyone here. I realize that it's very late on the East Coast, so I'm not expecting there's going to be a lot of people really jumping on after sitting through a monstrosity of a speech. Did anybody watch that speech at all tonight, apart from me? I mean, I'm sure some of you did. Jean Marie says, "Run, Jesse, run," she writes. "I was in college and helped a wee bit with that. Thank you, sir, for this light in our world." Thank you, Jean Marie, talking there about the late, great Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., who absolutely did a lot of great things on the global stage. He was not just an American statesman, he was a global statesman. And remember, he was instrumental in getting a lot of American hostages returned back home safely. And he doesn't get nearly enough credit for that. He changed a lot of the dimensions of American politics in the modern day. It's great to have those hearts, so keep hitting those. Thank you very much to those of you hitting the hearts here. It's a pleasure to have you. I won't keep you too long tonight. I don't normally do this during the week because I'm bloomin' busy, and I'll do this probably best on the weekends. But I did say this morning that I was going to be giving away prizes for paid subscribers only, but I'll be doing that this weekend because it's way, way too late right now. And quite frankly, the other thing is I haven't put the paid subscribers' names in a hat, so that's my fault. So that's really the reason. That's really the true reason why I have not been able to do this drawing tonight. But as I say, if you become a paid subscriber, before I continue here, and thank you. Hello, Diana. Nice to see you as well. What a pleasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. The state of the swamp, Diana writes. Absolutely. If you are a paid subscriber, it really does become a worthwhile endeavor because you do get put into a hat for random drawings for prizes, brand new copies of books like White Fear by Roland Martin. You get opportunities to be involved in that and to win other books. Like you have a choice of several different books. One is Vice President Harris's book, one is Virginia Giuffre's book, and several other books that I'll be giving away to paid subscribers only. So your subscription, if you pay on this Substack for your subscription, it's a subscription that really does pay you back, and you actually do get to win prizes. So I do want to just say that to you. Also, you have choices if you're a paid subscriber of a gift certificate, as long as that gift certificate is not from Amazon or Target. $25 gift certificate, you have a choice of that in the prizes that I give away, or a choice of 2 free movie tickets for an upcoming film that if you'd like, or that's not all, any Blu-ray, DVD, or 4K disc of a movie that you'd like or a documentary that you'd like. So you really do, by being a paid subscriber, absolutely benefit from your subscription if it's paid. So I welcome anyone who subscribes to this particular Substack, whether it is free or whether it's paid. And of course, if you do it paid, you actually will be paying for something worthwhile, including weekly digests of news curated by yours truly from a lot of different news sources, some of which you may not read or come across, that are really reputable and thoroughly credible and established, plus some extras that paid subscribers have been receiving from me as well in the reports that I do. One of the things that all of you get to do, though, tomorrow morning, whenever you wake up, is to read my compilation of pretty much not every single thing that happened in the last 13 or 14 months under this traitorous regime, but a lot of things I've already sourced and linked. So you'll get to see that on my Substack post tomorrow, which will be nearly a whole lot of things, a lot of news stories, a lot of things that happened under this regime in the first 14 months, right up until this month. So that's coming tomorrow. Look out for that. So please, please, please become a subscriber to this Substack. And if you're a paid subscriber, as I said, you'll get a lot of things that are definitely worth your subscription. Now, the thing I wanted to really get to tonight, and thank you very much for watching. I'm surprised that there are people even coming in. I did not think that there'd be many people at all, very many coming in. And, normally I do get larger audiences. But again, at this time of night, I'm not surprised by the fact that people have probably gone to bed. So it's really great to have you here. Thank you all so much. I want to just touch on a few quick things here for the next 15 minutes or so, maybe a bit less, maybe a bit more. First of all, we saw what we saw tonight. There's a lot of nonsense and a lot of lies. I thought that the events that were really worthwhile tonight were all of the pre-State of the Union demonstrations and talks and analysis. I thought those are very good. When you had progressives and you had other Democrats holding those on the Washington Mall or holding those outside D.C., I thought that was really beneficial. And hello there, Nancy. Nice to see you. Great to have you aboard. But what we saw, obviously, at the State of the Union speech was nonsense, or the state of the swamp, as Diana called it earlier. And quite frankly, I actually thought that the Democratic response was not very overwhelming either. After watching nearly 2 hours of lies, I wanted to hear a pick-me-up. I wanted to hear a bit more galvanization and a bit of excitement tonight. And for me, although I do respect her, Governor Spanberger wasn't it for me tonight. That's just my personal opinion. She's got to do her job, obviously, as a governor, and she's doing a decent job in the early going. But I wanted a bit more passion from her tonight in that response. After you sit there for 2 hours and watch this BS, I mean, it was a complete television production tonight, all of that, and you knew it would be. But you wanted to see more. You wanted to see more from the response. And I know there were assorted responses. Roland Martin had a really good response tonight on his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Roland S. Martin, on his coverage. Very, very good from him and the people on his Black Star Network. I encourage you to subscribe to him on YouTube. But I wanted a bit more fire, a bit more spark from the governor. I understand, usually the Democrats do trot out people who are just kind of middle of the road, it's kind of, yeah, of course, Governor Spanberger, of course, this guy has failed. Yes, he has. Thank you. Tell us something that we don't already know. You know what I mean? I mean, that's the problem. The one thing I'm concerned about with some of the establishment, or with the establishment Dems, because not every Democrat sounds like that, but the establishment Dems, is what kind of messaging are they going to be employing for these midterms? Because if they are going to employ what we heard tonight from Governor Spanberger, I would be a little bit concerned. Doesn't mean that the thing is over with, but I would be a little concerned, because really what Dems need to do this year is reach out to people who did not vote in 2024. And we all play a role in that as well. It's not just the Democratic Party, it's also us. So if you and I know somebody, or know people in our families, or know people who are in our circle of friends, or anyone else who did not vote in 2024, it is our responsibility, quite frankly, to really listen to them and find out why they didn't vote, and then say to them and educate them on why they need to vote. Link the things that we've seen in these last 14 months to reasons why the people who didn't vote should vote. Ask the people who did not vote in 2024 what issues they really care about, and link that to why their vote is important, and also link that to the things that have happened to the issues that they care about over these last 14 months. Because I'm about not just analyzing here, I'm about the doing part. And that's really critical for us. We really have to be talking a lot more about the strategy, about the doing. I mean, I can sit here and talk about the lies. I'm not going to talk about the lies, as I've told you earlier. I'm going to be in the morning posting a very comprehensive list of the facts via all the news sourcing that you can find, a lot of the facts from 2025 and 26 under this regime. So you can have a whole cheat sheet of all the things that actually went down. And you can actually read through those stories that I've linked to, and you can actually pass that along to the people who you know in your family or in your circle who did not vote in 2024, who stayed home, who refused to vote for whatever reason. And you can let them see that. And then you can also explain to them the nexus between the issues they care about and the damage that's been done to the issues they care about via this charlatan, this criminal in the White House. And understand that your vote, while it's not everything, is a very important thing. So the doing part is very, very important. It's great to have you here. Thank you very much for joining. I did not expect that I'd get more than a few people in here, and people are beginning to come in some more. So it's great to have you here on this late night. As I was saying earlier, I was going to be giving away for paid subscribers buttons from Jesse Jackson's campaign, different types of buttons too, as you can see there. And there's a couple of other buttons. I don't know where they are now. I think I put them on the somewhere else. I can actually see where they are, but I'm not going to get up. Various buttons for various different groups of people, plus obviously the famous logo button. In addition to, as I said before, some of the books I'm giving away. I'm finding the other ones now. Brand new copies of 107 Days, as you can see. As I said, also White Fear by Roland Martin. I've already given away a copy of this book to a paid subscriber, and it is on its way to them. So, that's why being a paid subscriber really does pay off for you if you subscribe to this channel. Thank you so very much indeed for that. And I've got a few more books as well over here, but I won't hold those up at the moment. The second thing I want to say that I think is really important for us is, and I wrote about this, and thank you, Len, for your comments. The second thing that I think is really important for us is discernment. And I wrote about this yesterday, or Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. What day is it? It's still Tuesday here in the United States. I wrote about yesterday morning the age of discernment, and I said that this moment for us demands care. It demands critical thinking. It demands real judgment and very careful looks at information and analytical approaches to information, because we are, as I've said for a number of years now, literally living in a disinformation age. And sadly, a whole lot of what we see in some areas cannot be trusted, which is why it's important to subscribe to people you trust on Substack. Not just subscribe to Substackers, subscribe to Substackers you trust. And you always have to go with your gut. If there's something that strikes you odd about someone who's saying something on Substack and you're like, go with your gut. Go with your gut. There's some people on here who are very authentic and do the work and are genuine, and then there are people who are charlatans. You have to decide who you trust, who you feel comfortable with, and who hasn't steered you wrong. So that's one thing. That's part of the age of discernment. Number one, who you're getting your information from, what sources you're getting it from. One of the examples of this, and I wrote about this, I didn't write about this particular thing, but one of the issues about the age of discernment, which is so critical for us, is all of this information that comes in one case in point. Gavin Newsom, who is not everybody's cup of tea, and is not mine. I would vote for someone else in the primaries. But if he does become the nominee in 2028, listen, I'm going to vote for him if he becomes the nominee. But in the primaries, I'm going to work to vote for someone who I think will be a much better choice in the Democratic primaries. But the reason I'm bringing up Gavin Newsom is not to necessarily cast aspersions on him at this moment, although there's plenty of back and forth that we can do on that. It's to talk about a story that came out from this last couple of days. On Sunday, Gavin Newsom was in Atlanta on part of his book tour with his new book that he's done. And he was talking about his troubles with dyslexia. He was talking about an SAT score that he got, and it was a low SAT score. And he was in a room in Atlanta, and this right-wing blizzard of lies was being thrown around on social media. Oh my goodness. Oh, he was talking to a black audience. So there was no, at the time this was said by these right-wingers, there was no photographs of who was in the crowd. There was no context. It was, and I'm going to do this on the Politicrat tomorrow, so this is kind of a sneak preview of tomorrow's episode. There was nothing that said about who was in the crowd at this book event that he had. There was nothing that said anything about him mentioning black people. And there was this racist assumption that because he was talking and said that, oh, my SAT score wasn't very high, it was 940 or 960 or 930, that there were these right-wingers, these racists who assumed, oh, it was a black audience because, black folk, they're not very intelligent. Low IQ, Donald Trump. So all of this stuff spread like wildfire over the last 24 hours or so to 48 hours or so on social media. And you had left-wingers and you had these progressives on some of these social media platforms repeating it. Discernment. Turns out that not only was this not true, that somehow, oh, this was a racist comment by Newsom. Turns out not only was it not a racist comment because the context by these right-wingers was to clip this thing and try to frame it into something it didn't belong in. What else is new? What these racists do. Turns out also, in addition to that, that the crowd in the auditorium was predominantly white. The assumptions about Atlanta, which is only about 43% black now, it's not a majority black city. And you have to be careful when I talk about an age of discernment. It's about critical thinking. It's about, wait a minute, what? I need to find out what this information is. I need to behave in a more process-oriented way, right? Doesn't matter whether you may not like Gavin Newsom, right? You may like him, you may not. But facts are facts and truth is truth, right? And even if you don't like someone on the Democratic side and you see that there's lies being told, I think it's every one of our duties to investigate. If you have a little kind of, you should investigate to see what the hell this is. You need to do that because no matter who becomes the Democratic nominee in 2028, and it could be him, it could be someone else, it could be someone else that you like a lot better. But no matter who it is, we have to recognize now, right? Right now, that in this calendar year, with primaries, with midterms, we have to really be aware and very discerning about the information we're taking in. And we also have to be careful not to just jump to conclusions and assume that that's true and then run with it on our social media feeds. I just couldn't believe yesterday somebody who I actually trust and respect posted on a social media page, oh, by the way, do you really think that Gavin Newsom was lying or was he telling the truth? And I'm thinking to myself, my God, if you do a simple check on the internet, you would find out immediately that what he said was taken out of context and it was a right wing, you know, white racist scam. And hey, you can look on a thing called YouTube, and I know that there's things on YouTube that are often dubious, but all you would have to do is plug in Atlanta Mayor Gavin Newsom, because the Atlanta mayor interviewed him, Atlanta Mayor and Gavin Newsom, Atlanta, or book tour. And you'd find the whole video of what he said. And you'd also be able to see occasional shots in the crowd. And by the way, Mark Lamont Hill on his social media, I think yesterday or the day before, posted a long line of the people waiting to get in to see Newsom in Atlanta. And 80% of them, 90% of them were white. And he wasn't talking about any specific group. He was talking about people in general who in academia did not do well, or who did not do well on SATs, or who were dyslexic. So we have to be very, very careful about not jumping to conclusions, and we have to challenge each other. If you see something on here that I say, and you say, wait a minute, that's not true, you need to challenge it. You need to challenge me, and you need to go do some quick research. I can't tell you how many times on here people will say things that I know are not true. And I try to challenge them, but if I challenged every one of them, I wouldn't get any work done during the day. Seriously. Someone said today, "Oh, California is an officially bilingual state." It's actually not. I live here in California. It's not an officially bilingual state. And the thing is, in fact, the only state I think that is Hawaii. And Hawaii was founded in what, 1957 or 58? Somewhere around there, 58, 59, 57, right? In 1957, I think it was, in Hawaii. I believe that's the only officially bilingual state in the country. What California did, see, this is why this is so important and why I talk about the age of discernment. What California has done is ended a ban on bilingual education. That's a big difference from saying that California is officially a bilingual state in terms of language. Very important difference. That's what the age of discernment is. It's very subtle sometimes, and it may seem semantical at times, but this is very important. There's a big difference between saying that it's officially a bilingual state, officially. We know that there's lots of people who speak Spanish in California. Heck, this place was Spanish. It was Mexican, right? But when someone gets on here, like I saw today, and say, "Oh, California is officially bilingual because my census person said so." So just because they're from the census, it doesn't mean that they at the census who were speaking to you had this information correct. You have to do the digging. You have to do the research. And a simple internet research check would come up with the obvious answer that no, California is not an officially bilingual state. It's not been officially proclaimed as such. There's no legislation that's been passed as such. But you see, this is the thing. This is why I say the age of discernment is really important, because what has happened to us, and thank you for being here. I know it's almost midnight. I won't keep you too much longer, I promise. What has happened to us with all these cell phones, smartphones, and all this social media and all this artificial intelligence and automation is that what it's done is short circuit the process of thinking. It has short circuited our investigative and investigatory capacities. So we really do have that pinprick knee jerk reaction. and we start running with things, some of us, a lot of us do, without doing that research to do our homework. We have to take those steps. The process in our thinking has been evaporated by things like Siri, Cortana, and I can go on, right? Of all these things. Yeah, Diana, absolutely. Tech has damaged people's brain cells. And it's not only tech alone. Who's behind the tech? Billionaires. It's not you and I. We're not the ones creating this tech. So what I'm saying is that we're all in a hurry going nowhere. And it's interesting because the title of Newsom's book is called Young Man in a Hurry. But when I'm not here to plug his book, I just mentioned that. But my point is that um, we're all in a hurry trying to get information out, but we're not digesting the information. We're not analyzing the information. We're not analyzing the sources. Years ago, we would do that in this country. We're not doing it now. We are just pinpricking ourselves to get likes and tweets and retweets and all the rest of it. And as Len points out, Elon Musk, all these people, and Nancy points out, as she writes, we all need to read more. We absolutely do. We need to read a whole lot more. We really do. And I've sometimes criticized people who, and I understand, yes, there are people who don't have the gift of sight, so they can't actually see a book, but they hear it. I'm not criticizing people who don't have one of their senses, but what I do criticize is people who do have all five of their senses. And I get it, some people are busy, but people who do have all five of their senses, not actually reading a book, like not physics, because I'm an old-fashioned person, I'm older, and I love books that I can put in my hand and I can turn the pages, and read the thing. I'm sorry, I don't do the Kindle stuff. I'm not attacking people who do. I just don't do that, you know. But we really need the education, and education has taken a hit. Education in this country has not been great over many decades, and that's very deliberate, of course. We don't rank in the top 10 in education at all, not to the best of my memory when I last looked at this. And you will find out our reading levels are not very good either in terms of what grade reading level we are. Also, in the New York Times about 3 months ago, I came across a story that said that the actual number of millions of people who read less now has dropped by 10 million people, over the last decade or so. So, this is the thing. We need to be reading more. But what we seem to be doing more, a lot of us, is doom scrolling. We're doom scrolling a lot more than we are really reading. We read headlines a lot more than we actually do read books. And yes, there is a significant population in the country that still reads, thank God, thank goodness. But there's a whole lot of us who do not. And we need to read more instead of reading our screens and reading our phones. And I know you're watching me right now, maybe on a phone or a laptop. We really do need to read books again. And so that's one of the reasons why I like to give away books. I've got tons of books. I love books, love to read. And as I said, these are just two of the books I'll be giving away on the weekend. I was going to do it tonight, but it's just way too late. And I didn't even get the bag ready to put the paid subscribers' names in it. so it's really my fault. But that's the real main point I wanted to make on this particular Substack tonight. We really need to read The Age of Discernment. This is how you counter the age of disinformation that we're in, with the facts, with analysis, with critical thinking. Critical thinking has become a lost art in this country. Um, Really, 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 you will find, and I know someone, I think it's Tanya, who's just written, guilty, I doom scroll too much. She writes, yet I have stacks of books. So that's part of the challenge. And another thing, in terms of the doing part, that's the challenge, is to lower or reduce the time that you doom scroll or go down the rabbit hole of YouTube or wherever, and turn much more of that time into reading a book that you have on your shelf, a book that you haven't read, a book that you haven't finished, a book that you wouldn't ordinarily read. So that's the challenge for people who do doom scroll, and because it's better for you, your mental health would actually improve if you read an actual book as opposed to reading a screen or doom scrolling. Your mental health, whether it's early in the morning or late at night, it makes a big, big difference. So that's really the important thing. It's very important that we read. It's very important that we read from sources and people we trust that are reputable and verified, and not to just latch on to the first thing that someone on social media or on Substack says. Um, because I'm all about facts, and I know that you're all about facts. I'm all about the history, and I'm all about putting the information out there that you can read and understand it and digest it. Um, I've said this really, really concretely in the last few minutes here before I say goodbye. It's after midnight now on the eastern coast of the United States. Um, I've been very clear about not only solutions, but also about the things that we have to do to improve our mental health, the things we need to do, not going with the first thing that you see just because someone that you follow or someone you subscribe to says it. You need to check these things. And that includes checking what I say. I don't leave myself out of this, right? Again, as I said earlier, if you know that something I've said is incorrect or something that I've said is not true, you need to call me out on it and you need to challenge me on it. I'm willing to be challenged. One thing I do with my podcast, The Politicrat, is that I review what I said on the show, and if there's something that's slightly inaccurate or in any way, whether it's slight or not, I come back the next day or two or sometime in that same week and say, okay, on this day I said this, that's inaccurate. Diana, thank you very much indeed for your time. I know it's getting late. And here in California, it's getting reasonably late on a night, a work week, I should say. Oh my gosh, it's been a long day. And Diana, have a very good evening down there in San Diego. It's raining up here, though, in this part of California. San Francisco is raining at the moment. The last thing I wanted to point to is, again, one of the things that I'm going to be pointing out in this story I'm going to write for the morning is, of the many things that have happened over these 14 months, there's been insider trading. And I thought that was very interesting that this liar tonight said, oh, we're going to introduce this anti-insider trading act. And if you remember, in April of last year, there was big time insider trading or alleged insider trading going on. And Donald Trump saying, oh, now would be a good time to buy stocks. Remember that in April of 2025? And people like Marjorie Taylor Greene bought stocks and all these other people. And there was a strong call from Democrats for a probe into any possible insider trading. And guess what? Marjorie Taylor Greene is no longer in Congress. Coincidence? Nancy, the Politicrat airs almost every day. Not quite. It's sometimes it is every day. The Politicrat podcast, which you can find, I do post the episodes to Substack. The most recent one was yesterday's episode, which I have posted. It's at the top of my Substack right now. But sometimes I post. They come out every other day, sometimes every day, and the time in which I post these things varies. Sometimes it's early in the morning, sometimes it's in the middle of the afternoon, and these things are pre-recorded. I have to find time to actually do this in the middle of a very busy life that I live, and so I don't do them every day. So you just have to literally. I think that one of the best recommendations is to also look at Apple Podcasts, where you can find it, and there are other podcasting platforms where you can find the Politicrat. It's also actually on Audible, funny enough. I talked about books and listening to books. Well, Audible, the Politicrat's on there. The Politicrat is also on my personal Substack. I also have a YouTube channel for the podcast as well, which you can subscribe to, youtube.com/@ the Politicrat POD. So all the podcasting episodes I've done And again, this podcast stretches back nearly 6 years now. So I've been doing the Politicrat for nearly 6 years. And I'm closing on these things here. I will type in the YouTube channel, and I will also type in something else as well that you might be interested in. So I'm just typing in now the YouTube channel. So that's the YouTube channel, which I'm just putting up here now. See, let's just do this properly. Okay, here we go. So that's the YouTube channel. And then what I'm going to do is put up the merchandise channel because, like Don Lemon and many others, I have merch too. I've actually had merchandise for a good many years now. Some of it's been selling pretty well and others not, that might be included in one of my giveaways. Some of the outstanding bits of merchandise, t-shirts and sweatshirts, which I've not been able to sell yet. I might include those in a giveaway for paid subscribers. So, that's coming possibly soon. And I'm just, again, going to type in the merchandise store. So there we go. That's coming up in a moment here. Let me just put that in. Let's see if we can get this in. And let's go with that. So there is the merchandise store that I have just typed in and posted. So this is really those are the two things that I wanted to leave you with. And look, the bottom line is that the age of discernment is really important. We have to be very careful and discerning in what we read, what we are listening to, and we have to be able to educate ourselves so that we know that what we're listening to is either true, or, either factual or not, right? Because sometimes you wouldn't know if you're not educated on the issue. How would you know whether something is true or false, whether something is fact or fiction? So that's where we have to self-educate. That's where the self-education comes in. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Again, it's a great pleasure to have you aboard. I know it's very late. It's after midnight on the East Coast, and I did say that I wouldn't keep you too long. And by my standards, I don't think I have. One other quick thing, I promise after this, I'll say goodnight to you all. There was a lot of news today. A lot of news, particularly in my native United Kingdom, where you had... yesterday, you had Peter Mandelson arrested. And I think it was yesterday now, I think. And you also had the House of Commons in the United Kingdom debate today, or I should say yesterday now in the UK, which is Tuesday in the UK, yesterday in the UK. You had the House of Commons debate on releasing documents and files related to Andrew and his appointment as the UK trade envoy in 2001. So after a debate in the House of Commons on Tuesday in the United Kingdom, there was an agreement to release any and all files related specifically to Andrew's appointment to the position of UK trade envoy back in 2001. Now, that may not seem significant, but it actually is. So we'll see about that. Peter Mandelson's files will be released as well. Those will be released specifically next week, sometime next week in the beginning of March. The Andrew files, not sure when they're going to be released. So keep that in mind. The ICE whistleblower, thank you, Nancy, for that reminder, on Monday testified that there were people being trained to deliberately violate the Constitution and violate laws. That was a very important thing. That testimony, that really went under the radar as well. Nancy, thanks for the reminder on that. It's great to see you as ever. Yeah, the United States is not following, as Len points out. In my native UK, we've been often much more active on these things. The country I, was born and raised in and grew up in is much older than the United States, obviously, but it has always taken a more serious approach to these kinds of things. And there's less partisanship in the United Kingdom than there is here, much less. I mean, there are obviously some typical back and forths. But in the UK, far less so. People will stand up and do the right thing when they're pushed to do it. At times they have to be pushed, but they do these things. And that's really the final note. The other part of discernment that we must have is to stop thinking in left versus right terms. And I know I've mentioned the left, I've mentioned the right, I've mentioned the progressives, da 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 da. Um, we have to come at this as people who are humane. We have to come at what we're seeing and what we're feeling and what we're experiencing as human beings, not as Democrats or Republicans or left versus right. We have to come at this with a moral code and a moral center and a value-based system that encourages and invites all of us to ask ourselves, is this right or is this wrong? Not, is it a Democrat doing it or is it a Republican doing it? And this is the last thing I promise I'll say tonight before I say goodbye. One of the things I find to be very problematic in terms of us thinking left versus right and not right versus wrong is these polls that come out or these stories that come out in publications that are pretty large and sizable that say, oh, well, Trump's approval rating is terrible, but people don't like the Democrats either. I'll tell you why that is more dangerous than you might think it is. And we know it's true that there are lots of Democrats, especially in the establishment, who aren't really putting on the boxing gloves and fighting, right? We know that is true. And we also know that there are establishment Democrats who aren't well liked. And you know who I'm talking about. There are also some Democrats who aren't in the establishment who actually are fighting with the fact that they don't even have any power, but are still fighting. And you can name those people. There's actually quite a few of them, including people like Chris Van Hollen and the other Chris Murphy. And Chris Murphy ain't necessarily someone who is this radical, you know. Chris Van Hollen, in Maryland, and you've got people like Chris Murphy, and you've got obviously in the Democratic House, you've got people like Ilhan Omar and Ayanna Pressley and AOC, and of course Jasmine Crockett. Please, if you're in Texas right now, vote Jasmine Crockett, okay? If you say you want to fight to Texas, vote for Jasmine Crockett. Early voting going on right now in Texas, okay? So please get out there and vote Texas, all right? But the point I'm trying to make is that there is now this, and I hate this term, both sides. So, yes, we know the Republicans are horrible. Yes. We know that this guy in the White House is a piece of garbage and a criminal. Yes. That's very well said, and we know that. And all of the election results we've seen over the last 14 months are trending toward what will be a gigantic, or what could be a gigantic win this November. But we cannot take anything for granted. We have to vote. We have to turn out as many people to vote as we possibly can and swarm these polls. Forget what the garbage that Steve Bannon is saying. He's trying to intimidate you. But the dangerous thing is, having these stories out there going, oh, well, the Republicans are crap, but the Democrats aren't exactly great either. They're not actually doing anything to gain the trust, and people don't approve of them. Hey, listen, the thing to understand is that you and I play a role in pushing Democrats who aren't doing the right thing. And to actually create this. And it may well be true that lots of people aren't happy with the Democrats, because, lots of people aren't. I'm not happy with all the Democrats, but it's not every Democrat at all. It's the establishment wing. It's not every Democrat. So these stories that frame this as, well, the Republicans are crap, but the Democrats don't exactly have a high approval rating either, that kind of does a disservice because it's not entirely accurate. And never go to a poll to get your information. I don't care what these polls say about Donald Trump or anyone else. The age of discernment demands that we do a little bit more research and that we are not lazy. I think this technology has gotten people to be so lazy. So that's what I would say. Do some of your own research, right? and trust your judgment, trust your instincts, and trust the people. If you trust people who give you the accurate information, and there's a number of them here, I like to think that I'm also one of those people because I do give out facts and information and context. You have to keep going with people who do, right? And please don't believe every single thing you see on Substack or every single thing someone says. Including me. Again, if you see something and you're like, wait a minute, then you need to go research that. So that's really what I can't even talk now. That's what I really wanted to say here. At the end of all of this, it is just after midnight now, after 15 minutes past midnight. So I hope I conveyed those things to you as concisely and as clearly as I could. That last one about, oh, well, the Democrats aren't that great either. I mean, that may be true, and it is true in some cases, but let's not try to have this debate as if the two parties are the same kind of thing. Because I know there's a sentiment out there that believes that, but it actually is not true. Look at the party that is actually trying to hold people to account. And yes, would we love to have more than two parties in this country? Absolutely. But that ain't happening. Not anytime soon. And yes, are there smaller parties like the Working Families Party who do a great job? Absolutely. But they don't have billions of dollars. The Democrats have a lot of challenges that they've got to take care of and deal with, and we have to be a part of pushing the party to where we want it to be, okay? And supporting those people in the Democratic Party who are doing the right thing. So the age of discernment really, in closing, demands that we educate ourselves and that we are involved. We have to call our senators. The Save America Act is going to be voted on at some point. I think it's supposed to be this week, maybe. But we need to call our senators and tell our senators, hell no. Vote hell no. 202-224-3121 or 202-225-3121. Vote, vote, vote. You see this shirt I'm wearing? I might give away one of these shirts as well. This is actually on the store, on my apparel store for this podcast. Vote. Please do that. Please vote in every election, the primaries, the local elections, the municipal elections, the state elections, and of course the midterms this November. Vote in every election in your jurisdiction and tell people that you know and love and care about to do the very same thing. Check your voter registration, please, at least twice a month, please, because I'm telling you, these Republicans are going to be so desperate. They will do anything. Excuse me, and they are doing anything to try to cheat and to steal. So we have to be up on everything here. We have to be very careful, discerning. Vote no on the Save America Act. Please call your senators. Please, please, please. We've got, and I'll come to Nancy's question in a moment. But please, please, please remember this week we've got a busy week. The Clintons are testifying. Don't forget that the Clintons are going to be, I believe it's going to be a live deposition or a live testimony before the House Oversight Committee. Don't forget that. Thursday, it's going to be President Bill Clinton. Friday of this week, it's going to be Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. That's the schedule. Bill Clinton first on Thursday, Hillary Clinton on Friday of this week before the House Oversight Committee regarding Epstein. Keep that open. Keep that in your mind. And then finally, again, Nancy asks, how many parties are there in the UK? There are at least 5 in the United Kingdom. And she writes that she watches them on C-SPAN. By the way, in the morning hours, C-SPAN will show the Prime Minister's questions live from the House of Commons coming up in a matter of hours, probably around 4 or 5 in the morning on the, actually it's 4 in the morning on the Pacific, on the Pacific coast, on the West Coast, and 7 a.m. on the East Coast, where they show you live coverage, the Prime Minister's questions that happen every Wednesday. Sometimes they don't happen on a Wednesday sometimes they don't happen because there's either a recess in Parliament or maybe there's something going on and they're not having the PMQs, as they're called for short, Prime Minister's questions. But in the UK, there are 5 major parties. There's the Conservative Party, there's the Labour Party, which is currently in power. There is the Liberal Democrats, Lib Dems, which is kind of more of a centrist left slash centrist party. Though that's three. You also have Reform Party, which is a nationalist, well, I would say racist, white wing white wing party headed by Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage is awful. He's the leader of the Reform Party. Um, and they've begun to get very popular in the United Kingdom. I'll talk about the UK and its politics one day. I don't want to do it now because if I do, I'll keep you here till 1 a.m. on the East Coast, and I don't want to do that to you. But to answer Nancy's question, to answer your question, Nancy, there's at least five parties. I think I mentioned them all: the Reform, Conservatives, otherwise known as the Tories, the Labour Party, the Liberal Democrats. That's four parties. And there's also in the United Kingdom the Scottish National Party, which is a political party, but they're limited to Scotland. Scottish National Party, and also the Scottish Labour Party and the Scottish Conservatives. So there's actually more than five, but those parties are limited to in those Scottish parties are limited to Scotland. Um, and they do have a seat in the House of Commons in London, in Westminster. But the heart of the party is based in Scotland in what they call devolved government. I'll explain all this one day. But thanks for the question, Nancy. It's always great to see you. Thank you for watching. Thank you, everyone, for watching. That is it for this edition of Live with Omar Moore. And I'm an unusual midweek edition because I don't do these too often, although the last couple of weeks I actually have done this on a midweek. Join us again, won't you, this weekend at some point. I don't know when on the weekend, but please come back here and join again because I'm going to actually be giving away an array of books, as I keep saying, brand new copies of brand new books that you really need to be looking at and reading. Of course, I've got a number of copies of this. I've got a number of copies of this. I have given away a copy of this to a paid subscriber already. So and that will be arriving with that subscriber in the next few days. And there are other prizes that I'm giving away. So again, it pays to be a paid subscriber. It really does, because you do get something in return. It's not only the things that I say and do and write here. You also get some prizes every now and again that I draw live out of a hat. So I want to say thank you. I really do want to thank you all. And by the way, the political parties in the United Kingdom, in terms of main political parties, there's literally about 5 or 6 of them. There are also offshoot parties that are much, much smaller. There's even something called the Monster Raving Loony Party. And they actually vote. They actually have people who vote for them. They don't have a seat in the House of Commons, but they are a party and they do run in elections. In fact, the next significant election, by the way, there was one election tonight, I think. I have to go look at the results of that. But they actually, the Monster Raving Loony Party actually does run candidates, and there are some council elections coming up in May. They are, I wouldn't say they're the equivalent of the midterms, maybe you could call them that, but in the United Kingdom in May of this year, May 2026, there are council elections all across the country. I'll talk about that a lot more, educate some people on the United Kingdom and its politics and its parties and all the rest of it. And Len is asking, how do they calculate wins? Who wins? When you're talking about wins, Len, in terms of the politics there in the elections, it literally is the makeup of the House of Commons. So in the House of Commons, you have roughly, I think it's 675 members of parliament, otherwise known as MPs. I think it's 675, something like that. And literally, to win a general election and to have your party be the winner of that general election, you literally have to have half of that, one more than half of that 675 number or thereabouts, win their elections. So let's say it is 600. I don't have the exact figure. It's 600 and something. Let's say there's 600 MPs, for example. If the Labour Party wins 301 seats, in the House of Commons, 301 members of Parliament. If the electorate vote for 301 collectively in the country, then Labour Party having 301 seats would have power and would be able to form a government with that number. So that's one way to calculate it. That's the clearest way. There are other ways that require coalition governments. Say that if nobody gets to a total of 301 seats for their party, then they might have to try to coalesce with another party whose numbers combined can push them to 301 or more. And then you'd have a coalition government. So there'd be two parties together in alignment as the government of the UK. We see this in a lot of different countries. We've seen this in Germany. We've seen this in a number of places. I will talk about international politics all day long. In fact, one of the things I will end up doing in future Substacks is talking a bit more about the international political landscape and about parliamentary elections in other countries. And it's very important that people, again, this is about expanding the horizon and understanding. So I want to do some conversation on that as well. But look, thank you very much. I'm sorry I haven't read out all of your comments tonight, because I normally try to do that here. I know it's very late. I know I said I'd keep you for a short time, and look what I've done. Terrible, terrible. I should never, ever. I, I should never, ever, ever say that I'm going to keep you for a little while, because usually, and it's not that I'm lying. I mean, I just, things happen and you talk about things. I'm not scripted ever. I'm talking. I do not have a script in front of me ever with anything. Not with the podcast I do, not with anything. If you can hit those hearts, it'd be great. Again, I know, listen, it's a long night. Thank you very much, Nancy. She writes, your knowledge is a wealth to me/us. Thank you, Nancy. I really appreciate that very much indeed. Please spread the word. Please spread the word on this Substack. Please have people subscribe to it. Be a paid subscriber or a free subscriber. I told you about the benefits of being a paid subscriber. So please do that if you can. It would be greatly appreciated. Please spread the word about this Substack and about the Politicrat. There'll be a new episode coming at some point tomorrow. Also, I'll be having a story out tomorrow regarding the facts of this regime over the last 14 months. A lot of the facts, not every single one, but a lot of the facts you will see on a post I'm working on that will be out tomorrow morning. Okay, so please keep your eyes open for that. Linked stories with actual facts and analysis. Facts. Okay, not people saying stuff, not conspiracy theories, which I absolutely hate. That's part of the problem in this place. We have too much of that flying around, too many bots and trolls, too much nonsense. The age of discernment is what we need. And I've posted right now, you can see it. If you scroll down in my Substack, you will see the age of discernment story that I wrote just yesterday. So listen, when you subscribe to this Substack, you get value, and you get value for your money. You get value as a free subscriber, but especially if you're a paid subscriber. So please spread the word here. I want to thank you very much indeed for your time. Thank you for being patient with me. I know it's been a long night. Please be safe. Please take care of your mental health. Okay. Please don't spend too much time in front of your phone. I could use that advice too, at least with this Substack. But please be good to yourself, okay? And remember that tough times do not last. Tough people like you do, all right? So we will convene again here. We will reconvene at some point in the next few days. Be well, be safe. Please get yourself a good night's sleep, all right? Drink lots of water, okay? I won't tell you, I'm not going to push upon you my all the other health directives. Make sure you laugh. Make sure you smile. I know it's a tough time. I know you may be going through some very difficult things personally. Make sure you find a way to laugh in the world. Make sure you find a way to connect to someone. Make sure you, in real life, not just like this, but like in real life, people that you care about and love and trust. Okay. Hopefully they reach out to you. You reach out to them. Do those very important things. Okay. If you're able to get out in the world, and if you're physically able to do that, make sure you spend some time outdoors. I know in New York it's been snowing, and there's more snow to come on Wednesday, and in other parts of the United States. But wherever you are in the world watching this, get yourself a good night's sleep. Create something, laugh, write in your diary, watch something that makes you laugh, play some music, sing, create, right? Read, right? We need to be people with an age of discernment. This is the age of discernment. Study, critical thinking, and do something that makes you smile. Do something that makes you laugh. Okay? All right. I am finally going to be saying goodnight here. Thank you all. This has been Live with Omar Moore, and it's been a great pleasure to have you. And again, please do subscribe here on Live with Omar Moore on my personal Substack. Take care now, and thank you. Thank you so much, Len, and to everybody who has joined and your comments. I really, really appreciate this um, because I really think we need the age of discernment and care, right? And as education has said also, please drink lots of water, stay hydrated, right? We must, if we want to do what we need to do, both in the primaries and in November, we have to be healthier people, especially with our mental health. We have to be healthier in that way. Do things that give you joy and pleasure, and do things that, put a smile on your face, right? Whatever those things are in the world, as long as they're not harming anybody, really, literally, as long as they're not harming anybody, and as long as you're consenting adults, whatever it is, right? Do things that make you feel good, give you joy, support, love, enlightenment. We have a lot more power than we think. Okay. So that's going to be it for me. I promise. I'll see you all again soon. And again, please subscribe to this podcast, or to the Politicrat, to the YouTube channel, and of course to this Substack. Okay, everyone, have a good night and enjoy your Wednesday and beyond. Take care now, and look out for my stories coming up on Wednesday morning. Take care. Bye-bye.